FM weather. It'll be partly to mostly sunny today in the low 70s. A northwest wind about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Light winds tonight, low 50s, mostly clear skies. Dry weather, sunny weather for Tuesday, the high in the mid 70s. And Wednesday, there might be a shower or thunderstorm, partly sunny skies in the low 80s. More showers and thunderstorms expected Wednesday night and the Thursday. Your life, your music, we're KLEK 102.5 FM.
From Feature Story News in Paris, I'm Elena Casas. China is expected to fire back against the United States with new trade measures this week, as President Trump insists the US is where it wants to be in the trade talks. Sweden is to decide on Monday whether to reopen its investigation into a rape allegation against WikiLeaks co-founder Julian Assange and seek his extradition from the UK. And the death toll from a cyclone in India has risen to 64.
It's 9:01.
KLEK LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for Community Conversations, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place, while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Monday to you. I hope that you're having a great start to your day. You're tuned in to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. I'm your host, Quabila Jones, and my special guest today is Dr. Blake Sandusky from Arkansas State University. He's Assistant Professor of Counseling, or in Counseling, or...
Yeah, it's Clinical Mental Health Counseling is the name of our program.
All right, so I can't thank you enough for joining us today. I was so excited when I saw you back on the roster, at Arkansas State University. We've known each other for a while, but won't get into all that. We definitely want to say good morning to your beautiful wife and baby. We'll also say good morning to Reverend Greg Ota and Dr. Sharice Jones Branch. All right, so before we get into our topic of counseling and all that, I wanted the listeners and viewers to get to know a little bit more about you. So give us an introduction.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in Northeast Arkansas, which is not really common of university professors. Usually they come from all over. Okay. So it is a little different that someone who grew up in the area teaches in the area. So that is kind of unique. And went to Arkansas State. Worked while I was at Arkansas State. Actually worked at City Youth Ministries for a while, so did that kind of thing. Got to learn about people and just really got excited about helping people. Okay. Graduated with a bachelor's degree. Thought I would go to grad school, and then decided I need to get a job. I've kind of been doing this for 4 years. I need to get a job. So I got a job banking at a local community bank. I think that's kind of how I justified to myself, like, I'm at a local small community bank, right? So I'm helping the community in that way. And it was okay, but it just wasn't for me. So 2008 rolls around, the recession hits. I was in mortgage. It was not a fun time. No. So decided, I'm going to go back to grad school. I want to, do what I want to do. Ended up in counseling. Didn't really have a good idea of what counseling was at the time. Went through the program, really fell in love with counseling and how to help people with mental illness and mental challenges and just everyday life challenges. Left, once I graduated, got a job at Ozark Guidance Center in Northwest Arkansas. And ended up working actually in an alternative school with adolescents. I never thought I would ever work with adolescents.
So you went from banking to working with adolescents.
Right.
That was a transition.
Yes, within about 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a big transition. But once I got into it, realized this is like, they say those times whenever, if you find a job you love, you never have to work. And I got that.
That's awesome.
Like I when I was banking, it was okay, but I didn't, I dreaded Mondays, that kind of thing. Oh. And when I started doing counseling, it was like, I get paid to do this. Which was kind of awesome. During my time at Arkansas State, I did some undergrad teaching as a teaching assistant. And as I was practicing, I was kind of like, I miss this. Like, I miss the teaching aspect of this. So within counseling, to become a person who teaches counseling graduate programs, the way our accreditation works is you need a PhD in counselor education and supervision. So ended up looking at different programs, interviewed at a few, really loved the program at Auburn University. So ended up moving to Alabama, which I also never thought would ever be anything that I would ever do, right? I would never move from Arkansas.
Right.
And then went through the program there. When I graduated, I got a job in Nebraska.
Wow.
So then we moved to Nebraska. Also something I never thought in my entire life I would ever be doing. And taught at a small liberal arts school in Nebraska.
Okay.
And, it was one of those things that, like, finding that job that you never have to work at. It was like, I thought counseling was good, but all of a sudden, like, it's better.
So now you're teaching counseling.
Right. And it's like, there are days that I'm in my office working that I'm like, I'm getting paid to do this.
That's awesome.
It's sort of like, wow.
But you also love what you do. Like, you love the aspect of helping people. We've had a great conversation off there, which should have been on air, but we'll get into some of that. But you love what you do. You're passionate and you're dedicated because your overall goal, as you stated, to some degree, is helping people overcome whatever they're dealing with. We hear the word counseling and we're like, oh, some people get scared and get shy and just totally retreat to their safe space. And then some people embrace counseling with open arms. So can we kind of get into why, or what is the stigma? Why are some people so afraid of it? I mean, the what, why, and all that.
Sure. And I think, there's some studies out there on what is stigma and how does it, affect people differently. I think a lot of it has to do with our culture and society. We sort of, and I think rightfully so, have this viewpoint that you go out and you work hard and you succeed. And we know that that's not true, right? That's just not really the way the world works. No. But I think there's this ingrained, like we even tell our kids, right? If you work hard, you'll get what you want. Well, that's not true.
There's a lot of other factors.
There's many other factors. And I think one of those things is if we think I need help with something, right? And it's something that I can't see.
Okay.
Right? So it's like this life is beating me down.
Okay.
And I can't see that. I can feel it. And I have to reach out and get help for that. Then it just goes against that idea of I've worked really hard and I'm going to succeed. Right? So it's seen as not succeeding. I think that's where the stigma comes from.
Okay.
And we want people to know that succeeding is reaching out for help.
Yes.
Right? Succeeding is saying, I need to talk to someone about this.
Okay.
Right? You're just using your resources to make yourself better.
Okay. And when you were working with the adolescents, what was that experience like? Because I've worked with, adolescents before as well, and they're just not as quick to, and then being the mother of a son who was shut down. One, how long did it take them to open up to you? Two, what was that experience like? Because kids don't always tell you what they need. They'll act out in a way to get your attention, and then hopefully you get the message and help them.
Well, first off, I never set out to work with adolescents.
Okay.
Even though I worked at City Youth during my time as an undergrad, I never set out to be like, I'm going to be a counselor for adolescents.
Okay.
Like it seems like everything I've kind of fallen into in a way, I guess.
Okay.
But so working with adolescents, I didn't really know what to expect. Like I had an idea of what to do. And what I learned through that is adolescents, they just want someone who's on their side. Okay. And that's going to mean different things to different adolescents. But I think what I really learned is when I went into work with an adolescent, I worked in a school setting. Okay. So I had to make sure that whatever box they put teachers, administrators, personnel in, that I was not. You mean to get the?
No, he's okay. It's Max.
that I was not that same person, right? So if a teacher or a principal was in a certain group, I had to make sure that that adolescent saw me as not in that group.
Okay.
Whatever they put their parent, guardian, grandparent, aunt in, I had to make sure I wasn't in that group.
So you were the neutral, safe person, or they could come to that they didn't feel was taking the other authority figure's side and against them.
Correct. Right.
Okay.
I had to make sure that I was a different person to them.
Okay.
That I was that person who was on their side, that they could trust, that would help them through whatever it was. Because, you know, we talked about stigma a little bit. Whenever people go into counseling, we're asking you to talk about things that you rightfully try to hide because it's hurtful, it's scary, and all those things. Mm-hmm. And so for an adolescent, it's extra that.
Okay.
Right? Because they, you know, as an adults, our brains start to develop more and we can actually project into the future and make better logical decisions. Adolescents, probably not surprisingly,
they're right in the moment.
Right, don't have that. And so as counselors of adolescents, we're asking them to open up about these things that are scary and hurtful and things that they rightfully hide away.
Wow.
And so they have to trust that you're going to open up about this and it's okay, I know what to do with it. Right? And I can help you.
Because we live in such a diverse society, we talked about, you know, the ethnicity population of the school. And so, again, going back to that, what's the stigma of counseling and then living in different cultures that have taught you not to trust certain people or be apprehensive. So how did you overcome the cultural barriers? Yeah.
So I think the first thing I had to realize is about myself.
Okay.
Right. So I'm working where I practice was predominantly Hispanic population. So I had to realize here is this big white guy coming in to help me.
Okay.
So I had to realize that, you know, I might not have the same viewpoint as some of the predominant, you know, culture group.
Okay.
But they don't know that.
Okay.
Right? So I have to realize that they're not just going to open up to me because of who I am.
Yeah.
I've got to overcome the things in the predominant culture that's also, you know, keeps minority cultures from being successful or from going out and trying to do things better, right? Like that there's this history there that I have to acknowledge myself.
Okay.
So I got to understand that I've got to work a little harder, right? I've got to do a little more to build trust. So the way I usually did that was I would learn from them.
Okay.
So I would say, you know, tell me where you're from. Because I think a lot of the times in the general population, if we see someone Hispanic, we think they're from Mexico. And we think Mexico's the whole thing.
Yes.
Right? So, like, tell me where you're from. Tell me about your family.
Okay.
Tell me how you got here. Tell me, you know, and so I took it as, let me learn about you.
That's awesome.
As a way to build trust.
Do you think individuals in society can learn from that model that we would be better off in some aspects if we take the time to learn about each other versus totally relying on our preconceived biases?
Yeah, I think absolutely. If we looked at, you know, I think we have to acknowledge that we all have prejudices and biases. Mm-hmm. And that's just the way our brains work.
Yes.
When we see someone, our brain automatically puts them in a box and says, this is what I should expect.
Yes.
And I think if we acknowledge that that's true, then we can move past some of these other things, right? That I can say, this is my prejudice and bias, this is how it affects how I see other people. Mm-hmm. And then step into that with, now let me learn about you.
Yes, instead of using those prejudices and biases as a way to be discriminatory, use it as a learning tool to help you gain insight into yourself and how you can connect with people from other cultures. And I use the word culture loosely because culture, and this is one thing I'm learning in one of my classes, it's not just about a race or an ethnic group. Culture can relate to an organization or group of people that interact.
Absolutely.
It's the atmosphere that they operate in. So once you learn the culture of who you're dealing with, no matter what their race, gender is, religion, I'm sure you've maybe also experienced some of those different aspects with the individuals, the children that you work with that come from, again, not just different racial backgrounds, but different religion and other things, so.
Yeah, and especially, a few of the clients I worked with, I had to learn about their culture group within Mexico.
Okay.
But the majority of the people I worked with were from Mexico. But just even learning that the differences within the regions within Mexico, and some of those had to do with religious and cultural beliefs that I wasn't aware of. But it affects the way they see the world.
Okay.
So if I'm going to step into their world, I need to understand those things to the best of my ability, so that when I'm conceptualizing what's going on and what's going to help them move forward, if I don't understand those things, then I might go in a direction that's not going to be helpful.
That's awesome. All right, so I want to get into, we talked about, kind of what counseling is and the individuals you've worked with before. Let's just really break down why it's so important for kids and adults, but mainly for kids. We talked off air about things that happen in your younger years that can spill over into your adult life, and they may or may not be fixed by then. But why is it so important for kids to get counseling, even if it's nothing, say, inherently just wrong, just life?
Yeah, I think what research tells us is early intervention is key.
Okay.
Which is why a lot of the research I do is in school-based clinical mental health counseling. Okay. So it's actually taking clinical mental health counselors and then seeing how do they work within a school setting that's not designed for mental health counseling. Because we know that early intervention is more helpful than later intervention. But we also know that any intervention is better than no intervention.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think the important thing for kids is being able to connect with someone that they trust and that they can open up to.
Okay.
And that really is the biggest key to helping people overcome whatever experience it is that was detrimental to them. Okay. Whether it's some type of abuse or neglect, grief, whatever. And that if they have that person they can go to, that they can open up to, that they can say, here's what's going on, I can share these things with you.
Okay.
What we know is or what we understand is that helps them in their emotional development, that helps them in their physical development, that helps them in their educational development.
Okay.
So if we look at it kind of like a reverse, like triangle.
Okay.
Right? If we can start down here, then as they go up, the more progression we can make.
That's awesome.
Whereas, if you start up here, you can't hit as many places. But what we know is that it's still better than not doing anything.
Okay.
So.
All right. And then for adults, growing up in a rural community that I lived in, we didn't talk. I don't remember having conversations about mental health and mental disorders, and if someone had a bad day or a bad moment, it was just they cried it out. They didn't talk about it. We didn't have those discussions. It wasn't until I came to Jonesboro and got further in life that started hearing things about bipolar disorder or depression or schizophrenia and things of that nature, and I'm like, okay, this is a whole new world to me. So how important is it for adults to get counseling at the first sign of something's not right?
Yeah, I think it's very important. Especially, and I think what you get is that stigma that we talked about, right? There's something going on. I think I need to do something. But then just like you said, never hearing about mental health. You may not even know what to do. Mm-hmm. You may even know what the first step is to get there. But I think it's important to think about understanding when I need to see someone.
Okay.
And as a counselor, I say everyone needs a counselor.
Everyone,
of course.
Look, yes.
Everyone should have a counselor.
Yes, indeed.
But I think it's those times when we realize that, we're not able to function as well. Okay. Right? So maybe it's, I don't want to get out of bed, or I'm angry all the time, or I'm withdrawn from people, or I've used to enjoy doing these things and now I don't.
Okay.
Or I'm angry all the time. Or people tell me, you should talk to someone about that.
Okay.
Those should all be red flags that, maybe I need to talk to someone about this.
Okay.
But again, I take the perspective, of course, I'm a counselor,
Okay.
that anyone should see a counselor.
Yes, I'm going to put that out there. Everyone, even if you're just having a good day, go talk to somebody still.
Yeah.
You never know through conversation what can come up. Oftentimes we go through life masking issues because we put on this happy face. We go to work, we go through these motions, work, family, sleep, eat, just this cycle. And along the way, life is still happening within the middle of that, because time is not linear. It's and I'm not a scientist, so I'm not getting into all that. However, I just know time and life is not linear. There are multiple things happening at one time that can affect any moment of your life.
Yeah,
and so, while you think you're smooth sailing right now, anything can happen. So.
Yeah. And especially understanding that, that when we talk about like stigma, we talk about society and how we put on the happy face. Counseling is that place that you can go to and be whoever it is that you are.
Okay.
Right. So the point of counseling is we create this space for you to be able to express yourself.
Okay.
And the more, I believe, the more authentic and genuine you can be, the better your mental health is going to be.
Okay.
And I think it's also important to think about it, to explain maybe the counseling perspective, because we have a different perspective than other people.
All right.
And that is that we don't see people as victims.
Oh.
Right. So we see things on a mental health wellness continuum.
Okay.
How do we move people to a better mental health?
Okay.
Not necessarily fix anything.
All right. Awesome. All right, so we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to pick up our conversation and talk about there's this new center on fairly new center on campus, and then talk about some what you've noticed, from the beginning until now with the clients that you have served. So,
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
Want meaningful ways to honor your mom on Mother's Day? I'm Mark Merrill with today's Family Minute. We should honor our moms every day, but since we officially get one day out of the year to recognize the woman who changed our diapers, wiped our noses, and came to all of our games, let's put a little extra effort into it. Here are 4 ways to honor your mom this Mother's Day. First, write her a handwritten letter. Thank her for how she provided for you and loved you through your best days and your worst. Second, make her a photo album. It's a wonderful way to remind your mom of all the memories you've made together over the years. For the rest of the ways to honor your mom on Mother's Day, check out my blog at markmerrill.com. Remember, your family first.
Family Minute is made possible by the Kappa Nu Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, a non-profit organization committed to service to all mankind. Kappa Nu Omega Alpha Kappa Alpha on Facebook and KNOMEGA1908.com.
Family Minute is brought to you by the Gears Foundation, a nonprofit organization providing students with assistance in their academic and career pursuits. Gears Foundation on Facebook, Gears_Inc. on Instagram, and the Gears Foundation at gmail.com.
It's graduation season, and KLEK 102.5 FM is offering you an opportunity to congratulate or shout out that special graduate in your life for just $10 per message. The messages will air from May 1st through 25th at 7:31 a.m., 12:31 p.m., and 5:31 p.m. Proceeds go to help keep KLEK on the air. KLEK will also donate a portion of the proceeds to the Sonia D. Williams Scholarship Fund of the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. To sign up and purchase your greeting for that special graduate, visit our website at www.klekfm.org or call 870-277-1080. This event is a KLEK fundraiser.
This portion of KLEK programming can be made possible by your business. Your support will help in educating, entertaining, and empowering the community by supporting local talent, serving the community you love, and providing information on issues you care about from a different perspective. Call 870-203-9951 or visit klekfm.org to learn how we can help connect you more with the community. Or visit us at 1411 Franklin Street. KLEK 102.5 Jonesboro, educating, entertaining, and empowering the community.
Experience the joy with Bishop Adrian R. Rogers, pastor of Fullness of Joy Church, 2120 Thorn Street, Jonesboro, Arkansas, 72401. Wednesday night, Word and Worship, 7 p.m. Prayer Thursday night at 7 p.m. Sunday School, 9:30 a.m. Sunday morning worship, 11 o'clock a.m. And our Sunday night live service at 7 p.m.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
Welcome back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. My special guest today is Dr. Blake Sandusky, Assistant Professor of Counseling at Arkansas State University. So in the first part of the show, we were talking about, what is counseling and, why people maybe should utilize it, and then just kind of working through some of those cultural differences and barriers and just kind of helping people grasp the concept and be more accepting of getting counseling. And I like the statement you made as we're going to break that counselors think in the mindset of it's not fixing people, it's just helping them work through whatever they're dealing with.
Yeah, because we had come from a wellness model, so most places work in a medical model, right? So if you go see a doctor, they look at your symptoms and then give you something to reduce those symptoms.
Okay.
So counselors work from a wellness model, which is, here's what's going on with you. How can we move you towards increased mental health? Not fix symptoms that you have, even though you may be diagnosed with something that has some type of symptom.
Okay.
That's more for the medical people that we work with. The way we look at it is, here's how we do this, right? Like we kind of see how can we make this better.
Okay.
And not necessarily fix that.
All right. And so I want to get into some other topics because you also work very closely with the new center. I keep saying new. It opened last year.
Yes.
So tell us about the center on campus where you now provide services to the community.
Yeah, so it's the Howell Service Center, and it is in our College of Education and Behavioral Sciences. And it is in the College of Education building, which is next to the library on campus.
Okay.
And what we do there is we collaborate with our school psychology program to offer services to the community. School psychology right now is focusing mainly on educational interventions.
Okay.
And they've had really great experience with helping children and adolescents, increase their educational attainment.
Okay.
And what we do is focus on the mental health part. So that would be individual counseling, group counseling, and couples and family counseling.
Oh, wow. And so since your time, working there, or working with the program, what have been some changes or improvements, or just what have you noticed, or, based on the feedback from the clients?
Yeah. We've really tried to work on expanding our client base.
Okay.
So just being able to let people know that, hey, this is something out there. We also use a sliding scale. So that means if you come in, we don't bill your insurance.
Okay.
And we base how much you pay off of how much money you make.
Oh, okay.
So it's able to really help people who don't make as much money and may not be able to make that $35 copay that they have to pay when they go see a counselor through their insurance or whatever it is.
That's awesome. So you're basically eliminating the excuses that anybody can come up with as to why they can't get
We're
counseling.
trying to, yeah.
Okay.
And I think also being able to offer couples and family counseling. So I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist.
Okay.
And I would be the one supervising anyone who came in for couples or family counseling. And I think that's also unique in our area. We do have some MFTs that are out in the field working.
Okay.
But there aren't as many as you would see, if you went to a provider.
Okay.
Right there, you have to really kind of search us out. There aren't very many in the whole entire state.
Oh wow.
So yeah.
So they're marriage and family, is it that people just not interested in going to that field, or they're just...
I think the biggest difference is how you get reimbursed.
Okay.
You don't get reimbursed any extra for being a marriage and family therapist.
Okay.
So I think it's just there isn't a huge benefit to it. So if you do find a marriage and family therapist, just know that they've gone the extra mile.
Okay.
Without any reimbursement for it, because we do look at the way marriage and family therapists conceptualize what people bring into a session is very different and unique from the way that a licensed professional counselor views it. There's just a little bit of difference there.
All right. So do you, I know not to get into the personal business of your clients, but do you currently counsel any married couples?
We've not had anyone come in for marriage counseling yet.
Okay.
So we're really wanting people to come in and
you might have to do some type of community-wide, I don't know, some type of, what do you call it when you draw people in? I don't know, some kind of fair or something.
Yes, we have lots of plans over the summer to get the word out, and we have plans for the fall and the spring.
All right.
So we'll let you know when we have those finalized.
All right, so look, you heard it here. Go out to the House Services Center, go sign up. The fee is, it's doable, based on what you pay. So do not delay. Trying to find my word. Do not delay in getting the help that you need. Well, I hate to say help, but making connection, talking to someone, just working through life's issues.
Yeah, we would use the word help, right? Because it should be something that, I need to talk to someone. I'm looking for help, resources, engagement, whatever we want to call it.
Okay.
So I don't take it to the word help. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So again, this is the House Services Center, and so then, for someone who says, "Okay, I really enjoyed this conversation. I want to check into counseling." Like, how can they get into the counseling program? And let's start with the bachelor's, or maybe what they need to do on the bachelor level, associate level, and work their way up.
Sure. So our program admits people currently in April.
Okay.
So there's only one time of year that you can actually get into the clinical mental health counseling program. And on the bachelor's level, you should have some type of background in psychology helping professions.
Okay.
Whether that's social work or psychology, sociology. There are a few classes that you have to have before you can get in.
Okay.
So you do kind of need to plan ahead.
Okay.
But then you can go to our website on the psychology and counseling homepage at astate.edu. And that's where it'll give you the link to actually apply. You do have to take the GRE, which is the Graduate Record Examination.
Okay.
That's right. So you have to take that exam. And then you also have to have 4 letters of recommendation. And I think 2 of those have to be from a current faculty member or a past faculty member. And then you write a sort of a background, what's my plan for the future essay. And then there's actually an interview. So we do a group interview process where you come in and meet with the faculty. We kind of talk about what are your plans for the future, why counseling, why Arkansas State. And it's one to make sure that you're a good fit for our program.
Okay.
But when you go into a grad school, you also want to make sure that the program's a good fit for you.
Yes.
And that it fits for what you're wanting to get out of it and what your future goals are. And then once you get into the program, there's a course rotation that you take. It's all set up. It's 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And the last year is an elective in the fall and the spring, and then your internship. That's where you're actually out in the community working with people, being supervised, getting the real world experience, actually applying everything.
Wow. So once someone gets into grad school, first gets into the program, do they need to have a clear mindset or a clear path a thought process of where they actually want to go within counseling before they start taking these classes and then getting to their internship. Like, I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah, no, I would say you should definitely have a viewpoint of I want to be a counselor.
Okay.
Which basically means I want to be a licensed counselor within the state of Arkansas. Every state is different.
Okay.
So we currently don't have a national licensure, but that's the direction that our profession's moving in.
Okay.
But so each state has a little different. Most of them are the same, but they have a little. Like in Arkansas, you have to take psychopharmacology. I don't think there's another state that requires you to take that.
Psychopharmacology.
Right. So it's about psychotropic medications. We don't prescribe medications. Counselors don't.
Okay.
But the state of Arkansas, and I think rightfully so, thinks you should have some kind of idea if your client comes in and says, I'm taking this. You should at least have a general idea of what is that, what does it do, what are the side effects.
That's awesome.
So the state of Arkansas is actually a very strong advocate for mental health counseling.
Okay.
We were one of the first states to actually have a licensure, along with Virginia and Ohio, I believe. And so the state of Arkansas actually has a very strong mental health counseling identity.
Wow, that's awesome.
Which is surprising since we don't really talk about it that much in our
We
community,
don't.
but we actually, it's a very stringent process.
I would love to see more conversations happen and more people, seeking the help they need, so that we can become a better society as a whole. If, I said before, if every individual took personal responsibility for their behaviors and what they're dealing with in life, that may be affecting their life and then affecting other people, we may be better off and start treating each other better, treat ourselves better.
Yeah.
And then we can, in turn, pour that into our children, and they can become productive, healthy, happy adults. I mean, I know that sounds like a utopian fantasy, but it can happen.
Sure. I think if we work harder and we realize that, there are people out there that I can go to and that I can open up and talk about these things, and that I can trust that they are able to do something with that, and can help me through the pain and the scariness of it. I think that would be helpful.
All right. So, through your work with the House Services Center, have you had a chance to work with any children, or do you work hand in hand with clients?
So the clients that would come in would actually be seeing our students.
Oh, okay.
So it's mainly a training clinic. That's our first goal, is to help train students. However, they're under direct supervision of a faculty member.
Okay.
Currently, the kids that come in have been going through with our students who are in our play therapy program.
Okay.
And so we have a play therapy room dedicated to that within the House Service Center.
Okay.
And play therapy is a really great way to connect with kids. And the basis is sort of this idea that the communication of children is play.
Okay.
So the counseling works through the play and how they're communicating through that.
So do you get to personally observe some of the interactions with the students and the client?
Yes. So whenever our students see a client, they actually record those sessions.
Okay.
It goes on to, it's actually a really neat kind of program. It's HIPAA compliant, so it records it directly onto this HIPAA compliant cloud server.
Okay.
We can then go in, watch the video, and actually give them comments in real time as they're working through. We can do it in real time. They can't see it in real time, but we can actually give them comments saying, did you hear this? Or did you think about this? Or where were you going with this comment?
I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to ask, do you then, I guess, I can't find my words today. I'm so sorry. But basically recap and go back through what was done during the session.
So we all do it just a little different, but it's pretty much the same. We give them feedback. We ask them to look at that. And then they have an hour of individual supervision with us every week. So they actually come in, we sit down, we look at their tapes, we talk about, what did you think about this comment? If I make a comment saying, you made this statement, where did you think that would go?
Okay.
Then that's our time to kind of sit down and talk about it. And then we might play the tape and be like, did you hear this in their voice? Right? Because we're trying to teach them to listen on this empathic level. which is just a different kind of listening.
Oh, yes.
It's much more difficult than just active listening.
Yes, because some people listen with the mindset of they're just ready to rebut versus, okay, let me decipher what was just actually said versus just coming back with my own statements. Let me tie into what that person said so they know that I'm really listening and that I'm trying to get an understanding of what they're talking about and what they're trying to ask.
Exactly.
All right. Now, with your time working there, what has been some of the, I don't want to use the word improvements, changes you've seen with the clients? Have you had clients that had serious behavior or serious, certain emotional, psychological issues, and now since they've been receiving your services, you can tell some real changes or differences?
Yeah, I think my experience working with clients particularly were the experiences of more behavior issues, simply because I worked in the school system.
Okay.
So those were the kids that got referred,
because
they were the ones that were causing disruptions in the classroom or whatever. And I think the differences we see is, one, you can see those sort of on the outside because they're behaviors and we can observe that. But I think the deeper issues are the changes that we see in session, right? When they start talking with a future focused mindset. They say, my goal is this, or I want to. And then also the changes that we see in session of them opening up and talking about those things that at one point were very devastating to them, but they talk about them in this way that they've now taken ownership of them, and they don't hold this power over them where they can't talk about them anymore. So when you see these changes of a kid talking about their past abuse and they're just talking about it, then they have this voice change of, this is something that I can deal with now, right? It doesn't have this power over me. I don't have to hide it anymore. I don't have to do that, and the turn of that is the behaviors that's what everyone's focused on, right? Or I say everyone, teachers, administrators, and rightfully so, right? Because they have a job to get education done. But as a mental health counselor, we get to see those deeper level changes.
In our society across the nation, and I'm sure you've seen this when you worked in the school. Again, those students with behavior issues, we're just so quick to, and I say we collectively, are so quick to write them off like they're just bad behavior. Like, did you ever experience some administrators or teachers not wanting to, again, get to the root of the issue because, they're there to teach. You are a counselor, so you see things from a different perspective. Do you think we're too quick to write kids off, that, they don't want to listen, they don't want to learn, they don't,
I can tell you my experience, which was in Rogers Public School and the alternative school, and then there was Kirksey Middle School, which was the more general population. What we called that I also worked with. I never encountered an administrator or teacher who was not interested in working hard and seeing that this particular kid needed something extra. And working with me and letting me do what I needed to do to help them get past that. I think if I hadn't worked in a school, I might think, maybe there's this focus on education, which is true. But I saw teachers and administrators who went well beyond their requirements. And I was very impressed with understanding what teachers and administrators do and how they really, in my experience, they really cared about every single kid. And they really cared that they were successful, and they wanted them to be successful, which I think is really the key.
We're going to come up on a break here in about a minute or so, and I don't want to get too deep into another question, but I do want to start out with this. I lived in a rural area, and I've also lived in a bigger city, in a suburb. So from your experience in education and research, do you feel that there could be some demographic influences that affect a child's behavior, mental health, educate, like how all those things intersect, and how successful or however you view success in school, does that have an effect? Because I know Rogers, that's more west, and so it's a little more developed versus, the Delta of our, the Northeast Arkansas area. So there's a geographical difference.
Yes, certainly. What we understand through research is that demographics do play a large part in cultural influences.
Okay.
And do play a large part as far as mental health outcomes. So, for instance, if you have a person from a minority culture living in a rural area surrounded by a dominant culture group, they have a higher risk factor for suicide because, they may not see their place. They may not know, they can't develop their identity, right? It's just, I'm different.
Okay.
So it does play a factor as far as mental health, and I don't know about educational attainment.
Okay.
That's not my area, but it certainly plays a factor into how we develop and see ourselves.
That's an very interesting statistic. I didn't know that suicide tied into that. That's very interesting. Thank you so much. We're going to take another quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap up our discussion and, hopefully get some people interested in either teaching counseling or going to counseling. But you're tuned into Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back after these announcements.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
We're back with Money Matters. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. There's more to budgeting than calculators and spreadsheets. According to BlackEnterprise.com contributor Patrice C. Washington, known as the Wisdom and Wealth Money Maven, budgeting starts with your mindset and setting the right intention. Here's what else Washington urges you to focus on as you approach the budgeting process. Simplicity. Just list what directly deals with your situation and eliminate additional fluff. Flexibility. The budgeting process must be designed to be flexible. Your budget will change from month to month. For example, if you go over in one category, it should be accounted for next month, or greater efforts should be made to prevent those overruns in the future. If you want to spend more money, you have to figure out a way to earn more money. Don't get frustrated. It's just basic math. For more wisdom on wealth from Patrice C. Washington, go to patricewashington.com. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. for Money Matters, a product of American Urban Radio Networks.
Money Matters is made possible by the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization focused on joy in our sisterhood, power in our voice, and service in our hearts. www.jonesboroalumnidst.org.
Money Matters is brought to you by Bancorp South, offering checking, savings, loans, credit cards, and wealth management. 5 locations in Jonesboro to serve you. www.bancorpsouth.com or 870-972-9800.
Money Matters is brought to you by the Gears Foundation, a nonprofit organization providing students with assistance in their academic and career pursuits. Gears Foundation on Facebook, Gears_Inc. on Instagram, and the Gears Foundation at gmail.com.
KLEK thanks CJ Pepper and the staff of Life Strategies Counseling Incorporated for helping people through hard times in life such as depression, family issues, stress, abuse, and more. They offer counseling and therapy for all ages, individuals, families, and groups. They are located at 1217 Stone Street. Phone number 1-866-972-1268 or online at lscihelp.com.
The Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated was established on January 1st, 1977, originally serving Blytheville, Arkansas, and now serving Jonesboro, Blytheville, Osceola, Marion, and West Memphis, Arkansas. Today, the chapter continues to make an impact by focusing on Alpha's national community outreach initiatives such as My Brother's Keeper, A Voteless People is a Hopeless People, Go to High School, Go to College, Project Alpha, Boy Scouts, and the March of Dimes. The Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is committed to Alpha's mission of developing leaders, promoting brotherhood and academic excellence, while providing service and advocacy to the community. More information about the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is available at MOL Alphas on Facebook or via email at molalphas@gmail.com.
Hello, I'm Officer Jonathan Hagens of the Jonesboro Police Department. One of the best decisions I ever made was to join the Jonesboro Police Department. Since joining, I've had the pleasure to give back, protect, and serve my community. Now I want to let you know about that same opportunity. The Jonesboro Police Department will conduct testing for the patrol officers at the Valley View High School. Applications are available online at jonesboropolice.com. The Jonesboro Police Department offers a competitive salary, health, and retirement benefits, top-of-the-line training, and most importantly, the chance to make a difference in the Jonesboro community. Join me in making Jonesboro a better place. The Jonesboro Police Department is an equal opportunity employer, and women and minorities are especially encouraged to apply. More information, 870-935-5657.
Applications are being accepted. Applications are available at jonesboropolice.com.
Experience the joy with Bishop Adrian R. Rogers, pastor of Fullness of Joy Church, 2120 Thorn Street, Jonesboro, Arkansas, 72401. Wednesday night, Word and Worship, 7 p.m. Prayer Thursday night at 7 p.m. Sunday School, 9:30 a.m. Sunday morning worship, 11 o'clock a.m. And our Sunday night live service at 7 p.m.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
Welcome back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM with my special guest, Dr. Blake Sandusky from Arkansas State University, where he serves as Assistant Professor of Counseling. I can't thank you enough for joining me today, Dr. Blake, and sharing this information about counseling. And hopefully we've torn down some walls and, diminished the stigma, and hopefully people are being more open to going to get counseling and talking to someone. So as we wrap up, I want to first start out with, what are some projects you may be working on? What are some of the requirements of professors at Arkansas State? And then wrap up with, just finalizing what counseling is and why everybody should go.
Sure. So as part of being a professor at a university, the way that most universities are set up is we look at teaching, research, and service.
Okay.
So, and those are at different levels depending upon the university. So we do engage in research. So trying to push the knowledge base to try to understand more about our own professions and our own disciplines. Right now I'm working on a study looking at distance-based supervision. Okay. So as technology barrels through and knocks us all over as it continues to keep doing it, seems like to me, one thing that's kind of come along is being able to do supervision through a distance-based platform. So whether that's video or conference calls or whatever. So a counselor is required to do supervision. So I like to explain it, it's not like a doctoral residency for a medical doctor, but it's similar. So after you graduate and you become licensed, you're actually in the state of Arkansas, you're licensed as an associate counselor, and you're required to do 3,000 hours of supervision. Okay. So that means you're working, you're getting paid, but you're under the supervision of a counselor who has more experience than you. And that's just to ensure public safety. Okay. Essentially is what it's for. But also to help that counselor continue to grow. Okay. So part of that supervision can be done via distance if the supervisor in Arkansas has a technology credential, which is also unique to Arkansas. That's why I say Arkansas is very on the cutting edge of mental health counseling.
Like you mentioned before, for a state who doesn't discuss counseling very much, they're still trying to make those strides.
Yes, we have a very strong counseling identity.
That's awesome.
So I know that our board works very, very hard to make sure that we maintain that and continue So the study I'm working on now is about what is the experience of supervisors who use this technology.
Okay.
Because other states don't require technology specialization. So, what are the issues that they come into? How is it being effective? What are things they have to overcome? Those kind of things. And me and my co-authors, who are professors at South Dakota State University, are hoping to get that finished over the summer and get that out too. And we're actually presenting our findings in October at the National Association for Counselor Educators and Supervisors in Seattle in October. So.
I'm glad you brought up technology and how our society is changing and how people are accessing services. With the rise in social media and other technology, do you feel that, okay, I'm going to say this, I don't feel there will ever not be a need for face-to-face counseling, but do you think we're moving into that, just like there's telemedicine available for people who live in certain areas who can't get to facilities, do you think that the telecounseling may become a thing for people who can't?
Yeah, it's currently a thing.
Oh, it is a thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's similar to telehealth. In Arkansas, you have to have a special credential that's technology assisted. You're not allowed to do any type of counseling through the phone, through any type of technology if you don't have that credential.
Okay.
But I believe that's going to become more and more common, especially as people move away from rural communities into more urban areas.
Okay.
There aren't going to be as many counselors in rural areas.
Okay.
And so that is something that I think that we're going to be moving and seeing more prominence in.
Okay.
And as a way to expand services that people may not be able to get.
Now, from your perspective and experience, I know, again, we're progressing in society, but do you feel that we still need to maintain that face-to-face human interaction in order to efficiently help people?
Yeah. You know what? The research that I'm trying to pull up that I remember reading about is that the telehealth doesn't show that there's much of a difference between that and face-to-face if you're using the right type of video.
Okay. Alrighty. So again, our world is changing and we have to be able to adapt and grow with it, sink or swim. So, but I thank you so much, Dr. Blake, for joining us, and thank you for sharing so much about the world of counseling. And I'm not for sure. I think May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Please, somebody correct me on that. But still, mental health should be discussed, and we should be aware of it 24/7, 365, not just in the month of. And so if you have any more questions or comments, reach out to Dr. Blake at Arkansas State University or any one of the staff there. Go check out the House Services Center. So give us the times and days we're open.
Right now our mental health day starting in the fall. So we'll begin accepting clients again in the fall. Will be one day, and it's usually like in the afternoon time.
Okay.
And then we'll expand that out as we need to.
Alrighty then. So, and then be on the lookout for other publications and things coming from Dr. Blake. We're going to push him to get those things.
Yeah, we're going to work on that.
Alright, so thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, thank you to the community for supporting KLEK 102.5 FM. We are a non-commercial nonprofit, so we greatly appreciate your support, and we could not do what we do without you. So I hope everyone has a great and blessed day. Stay tuned. We'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.